Welcome to lesson 031 of Online School of Entrepreneurship. I am Dr. Kirian Mfam. In today's lecture, we will dwell on the evolution of entrepreneurship. Upon completion of this lecture, our audience will be able to 1. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the earliest periods. 2. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the Middle East. 3. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the 17th century. 4. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the 18th century. 5. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the 19th century. 6. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the 20th century. And 7. Discuss modern and 21st century entrepreneurship. Introduction. The concept of entrepreneurship was first established in the 1700s, and the meaning has evolved ever since. The concept entrepreneur is derived from the French concept entreprendre, which literally is equivalent to the English concept to undertake or go between. In this lecture, entrepreneurship has been traced from the earliest period to the Middle East through 17th century down to the 21st century. Evolution of entrepreneurship from the earliest period. Entrepreneurship has existed for more than 20,000 years, with the first known traits occurring between humans in New Guinea at about 17,000 BCE. This early type of entrepreneurship existed for a long time, where hunters, gatherers, tribes will trade goods from different regions to get what their tribes had need of. The agricultural revolution, which occurred about 12,000 years ago, caused a major shift in how entrepreneurship was done. People no longer needed to do everything for themselves. Instead, people concentrated on different tasks, making it possible for members of the community to trade valuable goods for food or other goods that they needed. As people increased on the earth, cities began to spring up in different places, and entrepreneurs realized that they could make more profits by trading between cities and cultures. During this period, Marco Polo, who was an Italian, acted as a go-between. He made attempts to trade routes to the Far East. As a go-between, he had to sign a contract with a money person to sell his goods, while as a merchant, he took active role in trading by bearing all the physical and emotional risk involved in the venture. Evolution of entrepreneurship from Middle East. In the Middle East, the term entrepreneur was used to describe both an actor and a person who manages large production tasks or projects. In this era, individuals do not take any risk because all the resources used are provided by the government of the country, and the entrepreneur does it to manage it. The entrepreneur is seen as a custodian of government resources and also as a priest. Evolution of entrepreneurship from the 17th century. The connection of risk with entrepreneurship was made in the 17th century. During this era, an entrepreneur was a person who entered into a contract with the government to perform a service, or to supply stipulated products. An example of an entrepreneur during that period is John Law, a Frenchman. He was the founder of the Royal Bank of France and the Mississippi Company, which had an exclusive franchise to trade between France and the New World. Richard Cantillon, an Englishman, first adopted the word entrepreneur to describe a risk bearer when he observed that merchants, farmers, craftsmen, and other sole proprietors buy at a certain price and sell at an uncertain price, therefore operating at a risk. Evolution of entrepreneurship from the 18th century. In the 18th century, the concept of entrepreneurship was viewed as capital demand and use, and the entrepreneur as one who made use of capital for his invention for commercial purposes. The person with capital was differentiated from the one who needed capital. Hence, the entrepreneur was distinguished from the capital provider. A major reason for this differentiation was a result of the Industrial Revolution. Many of the investors during this time were Eli Whitney and Thomas Edison. They both developed new technologies but were unable to finance their inventions themselves. Both Edison and Whitney were capital users, that is, entrepreneurs, not providers, venture capitalists. Evolution of entrepreneurship from the 19th century. Entrepreneurs were viewed from an economic and managerial perspective in the 19th century. The entrepreneur organizes and operates enterprise for personal gain. He was seen as someone who combined the factors of production, such as land, machine, labor, capital, skills, personal initiatives, and ingenuity in planning, organizing, and administering the enterprise. He also assumes the chance of loss and gain consequent to unforeseen and uncontrollable circumstances. The entrepreneur retains for himself the net residue of the annual receipts of the enterprises after all costs have been paid. The 19th century was a fertile time for entrepreneurial activity because technological advances during the Industrial Revolution provided the impetus for continued inventions and innovations. Then, towards the end of the 19th century, the concept of entrepreneurship changed slightly again to distinguish between those who supplied funds and earned interest and those who profited from entrepreneurial abilities. Evolution of entrepreneurship from the 20th century. In this era, that is the 20th century era, the focus of entrepreneurship in economic development was through innovation. This was introduced by an economist, Joseph Schumpeter, in 1972. In Schumpeter's words, the function of the entrepreneur is to reform or revolutionize the pattern of production by exploiting an invention or, more generally, an untried technological method of producing a new commodity or producing an old one in a new way, opening a new source of supply of materials or new outlet for products by organizing a new industry. During the early part of the 20th century, entrepreneurship was still believed to be distinct and different from the management of organizations. However, in the mid-1930s, the concept of entrepreneurship expanded. That's when economist Joseph Schumpeter proposed that the entrepreneurship involved innovations and untried technologies, or what he called creative destruction, which is defined as the process whereby existing products, processes, ideas, and businesses are replaced with better ones. Schumpeter believed that through the process of creative destruction, old and outdated approaches and products were replaced with better ones. Through the destruction of the old came the creation of the new. He also believed that entrepreneurs were the driving forces behind this process of creative destruction. Modern or 21st century entrepreneurship. Today, in every nation of the world, entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of every economy. They are reshaping the business environment and creating a world in which their companies are able to play crucial roles in the vitality of the global economy. The global economy, combined with modern infrastructure and communications, has opened up a new age of competition to the world of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs now have better access to raw materials and cheap labor, which has made modern entrepreneurship even more challenging and hence rewarding. Businesses today are introducing more and more innovative products and services, pushing back the frontiers of technology, creating new jobs, and opening up foreign markets while creating enormous wealth and satisfaction for modern-day entrepreneurs. In the course of this lecture, and in line with our instructional objectives, we were able to 1. Discuss the evolution of entrepreneurship from the earliest period, from the Middle East period, from the 17th century period, from the 18th century period, from the 19th century period, from the 20th century period, and the 21st century period entrepreneurship. Please support us by following us on our Facebook page, Online School of Entrepreneurship. 2. Subscribing to our YouTube channel, Entrepreneurship Teacher. And 3. Liking, commenting, and sharing our post. Thank you, and see you in our next lecture.